Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking all about face primers. Yes, we're talking about my favorites, why I use them when I do. So if you are someone who has oily skin with some fine lines, some enlarged pores, some texture, some sweat, some this, some that, if you're just a hot oily mess like me, then definitely stay tuned until after the intro. Alright guys, so I am one of those people who literally will not skip my face primer. I feel like once I started implementing a face primer into my routine, it really changed the game for me. It changed the way my foundation applied, it changed the overall finish, it changed the way it wore, just overall it just really improved everything for me. So I do not skip primer. Now because I have so many things going on, I am asking a lot of any primer. Because I've got oily skin, I'm looking for something to mattify and control the oil and kind of help extend the wear of my makeup. Because I have those enlarged pores, I'm looking for something to minimize and smooth these out. Because I have texture and fine lines and wrinkles, I'm definitely looking for something to smooth it all out to really help when my foundation goes on. So I am asking for a lot, and because of that I have found that it's pretty rare to find a primer that does everything I'm looking for. What's more realistic for me is finding a few primers that do what they do well and kind of rotating them throughout my routine. And I'll try to get into more detail as I'm talking about these specifically. And if I do have any video of me applying these primers, I'll insert them for you guys as well. So we're going to start with my absolute favorite, and that's going to be the Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r Instant Retouch Primer. Now this is probably the most expensive primer that I have, but you are getting 1.08 fluid ounces. You're not using a lot of primer every day. This bottle right here is going to last me forever. And isn't it a beautiful bottle? I love the experience of this primer. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I love the way it looks, I love the smell, I love the feel of it. This is definitely more of a lotion-y type primer. When this primer goes on, it almost feels like you're applying a moisturizer to the face. It's not giving you that silicone slick smooth feel. It seems like it just sinks into the skin and really gives the foundation something to stick onto. Because this is more moisturizing, I feel like it controls the oil from that whole moisturized perspective. My skin doesn't have to overproduce. It doesn't go into a panic. It feels like everything's okay, and so it's just kind of trotting along at a nice decent pace throughout the day. I do love this. This is my absolute favorite, I think, just because I enjoy the overall experience. But this one right here literally only controls the oil and extends the wear of the makeup. It's not smoothing, it's not minimizing, it's not filling, it's not doing any of that. To me, it's really just extending the wear of my makeup. So because of that, I normally reach for this one right here in those cooler months. So in the fall, winter, when my skin's already a little dehydrated and I'm just going for hydration, this is when I normally wear this one. I think this goes well with any foundation. It just pairs beautifully. But if I were wanting to go for a more smoother finish, I would pair this with maybe a medium to full coverage foundation. Say the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop, for instance. That's a very high coverage foundation that smooths everything out, and so it would kind of coincide with this one and fill in the gaps where this one wasn't. But because it's still keeping all that oil at bay, the combination is beautiful. So this is definitely one of my favorites. It's really only doing one thing very, very well, and so I'm reaching for this during a specific time of the year with any type of foundation really, but depending on the look I'm going for, I'd have to pay attention to the foundation I wore with this one. Alright guys, so the next primer I want to talk about is this one from e.l.f. It's the Oil Control Primer Mist. Now I do have a full review of this one here on my channel, so I'll definitely link it up above and down below. This one surprised me. In all actuality guys, I threw this in my cart because I was trying to get to the free shipping and actually fell in love with it. This is another one, in my opinion, that does one job and one job only, but it does it beautifully well. This one right here, it's a spray formulation, so it's not any of your creamy texture. It's a spray. I mean, like when you spray this on your face, you're getting droplets. You don't have to take a second and let this thing soak in. But it does feel instantly cooling on the skin whenever it does apply, but then it goes right to almost like a tight type of texture or a tight feel, so you know it's locking everything in place right then and there. This does not smooth, this does not minimize, this does not do anything but control that oil and extend the wear of makeup. Because of the formulation of this one, I do like to use this in combination with other primers, just because it's a spray form, it doesn't feel like it's an additional layer going on the skin, but in combination of, say, a more smoothing primer, this can kind of help with that oil control and that extending the wear of the makeup. So I love to use this in combination with other ones. I will be honest and say I normally use this in those warmer months, again, the spring and the summer, because I feel like it can be a little bit drying on the skin, and I just don't want to mess with anything else that's drying when it comes to my skin in those colder months. So I like using this in a combination of other things in the warmer months. But I think it does pair beautifully with other primers, and it pairs beautifully with any type of foundation. And this is probably going to be the most affordable one that I'm going to talk about today. The next primer I want to talk about is from NYX. This is the Can't Stop Won't Stop Matte Primer. Another one that I do have a full review on. This was in combination with the Can't Stop Won't Stop Foundation, so I will link it up below and down here. But this one right here, this one you got to be careful with. This is a soul-sucking primer. This primer will suck the life out of your soul as soon as you apply it to the skin. Like when you put this thing on, it is tight right then and there. It is sucking everything out. It's tight, it's powdery. Like this is one of those that you know is going to control that oil. Now I do feel like you do get a little bit of combination of other things as well. I wouldn't say it's necessarily smoothing, but it is a bit blurring when you put it on. But as I mentioned in the full review, this is a finicky one. You got to pay attention to the moisturizer you use, how you apply it, what you wear with it. This one is a bit finicky and takes a little bit more time to get used to, but it pairs beautifully with the rest of the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop line, as well as other foundations, but you got to be prepared to put in the work. I will say this one probably does, it does instantly mattify. It does a little bit of smoothing. I wouldn't say it's minimizing or anything like that, but it does smooth a little bit. It definitely keeps that oil controlled, and it definitely extends the wear of my makeup. So definitely a combo, but it's pretty finicky. You gotta pay attention to what you're doing. But if you do it right, it will save your life. Oh, and this one, because this is such a soul-sucking primer, I normally only reach for this one in the warmer months as well. So your spring and your summer is when I like to put this one in rotation. But again, I can use it with just about any foundation, but you probably want to use this. I wouldn't go matte, 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 because you're probably not going to like the end result of this one. You may want to pair this. The NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop Foundation pairs beautifully with it just because it's in the same line, but I wouldn't go in with any other heavy-hitting full coverage matte foundation, because I think the end result might be a little bit too matte for your liking. Now the next two I'm going to talk about, I feel like do the best job of being multitaskers. The Mary Kay one is the first one I want to talk about. This is the Mary Kay foundation primer with sunscreen SPF 15. I've mentioned this before. I do love this primer. I think this does a beautiful job of instantly mattifying the skin. This is a more silicone texture, so when you put it on, you instantly get that smooth, powdered, pore filled feel and look on the skin, like it's instantly going to work. I think this does fill in some lines and wrinkles. It does smooth out the texture, and it also extends the wear of the makeup. So this is definitely one of those multitasking products. The only reason I feel like this one though, I still only wear in those warmer months, the spring and the summer, because I feel like that silicone mattifying texture just, it doesn't do me any justice when it's more of the winter time, because again, my skin is already dehydrated. So I'm not going in this direction. I'm going more into the moisture, more into that direction. So while I think this is a fantastic primer that definitely does a lot of heavy hitting, I normally wear this one in those warmer months, but it pairs well with any type of foundation, regardless of its light, medium, full, whatever one it is. This pairs beautifully with a multitude of different foundations, but I do stick to this one just in those warmer months. And I love the additional layer of SPF. The last one I want to talk about is one that is recent in my collection and actually took me by surprise. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer, and this is the purple one, the pore minimizing one. Now this one threw me off a little bit because it actually has a little bit of a tint to it. If you've seen the Benefit Porefessional, it's got that light beigey look to it. This kind of it's a combination of the more of a lotion and a silicone. It's not quite as slick as a silicone, but it's got a little bit more texture to it, and as I mentioned, it has that tint. Don't let that tint off-put you because it actually does a great job of smoothing and blurring out the pores, but it doesn't leave you looking casty or a shade lighter than you are. It actually does a great job of blending into the skin. I feel like this one is definitely a multitasking one. It definitely mattifies the skin as it goes on because you do have that smooth, powdery finish once you put this on the skin, and it does do a good job of minimizing the pores to an extent. Not the best, but to an extent. It does fill in those fine lines, those wrinkles, and it does kind of smooth the texture on my skin, as well as it extends the wear of my makeup. So this one is definitely my favorite from a heavy hitter multitasking product because it does so much. And I feel like because this one isn't quite as silicone-y or as drying as the other ones, I can use this one any time of year. So whether it's winter, whether it's summer, any time of year I can use this, and I can use this with any foundation. So even if it's a light, medium, whatever, this works and pairs beautifully with all of them. So if you were going to get any of the ones I've mentioned, then I would definitely grab this one. If you're looking for one that's a bit of a heavy hitter, this one's going to be a little bit more pricey. I do have the mini, and I think I got this from Ulta when it was only like $11. Honestly though, you got to pay attention to these minis because you're not really getting the best value. Yes, you're spending less, but you're not getting the best value when they offer these minis. So if you can't afford it, I would definitely advise you to get the big one of this if you're looking for the biggest bang for your buck. But if you don't mind and you're really just trying to save some coin, definitely go in with the smaller one. But this is by far my favorite when it comes to completely multitasking and covering as many, checking off as many boxes as any of the rest of these do. So this would be the one that I would recommend if you're looking for an all-inclusive primer that does a great job across the board. So those are all my primers, guys. If you have a primer, especially if you have oily skin, if you have texture, enlarged pores, I feel like a lot of times if you don't have a lot to cover, or if you don't have a lot of concern, a primer might not seem that big of a deal to you, or it might not take a lot for you to be wowed by a primer. But I feel like when you have all of these things working against you and it's what you're trying to fix from that primer perspective, that's when you really are really being tough and really trying to pick out the best primer. So if you have oily skin, texture, wrinkle, fine lines, whatever, and you have found a primer that works great, definitely comment down below so that we all can get in on it and I can add it to my collection. So I hope this information helps someone else out there. If it did, please give this video a thumbs up. And while you're here on my channel, take a look around, see what else your girl has to offer. And if you're liking what you see, hit that subscribe button. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.